Yeah.
We are now live on Facebook on the Friar.
Yes, we have to watch our language.
Well, that's bleeping disappointing.
Believe me, I wanted to uncork a few F-bombs several times, but I've had to hold from being able to do that.
Hey,
yeah.
A few of my fondest memories from last year is when I just kind of let it go, see what the hell happened.
Yeah, I mean, those were fun, and we could get away with that when we were recording, but we can't now that we have the instant audiences.
Is things like damn and hell okay? Because that was okay
Yeah.
in my college
Yeah, of
radio.
course.
Yeah. Okay, good. I
Just
just can't drop like 33 F-bombs in a row.
Just don't do any.
Are we live right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're live. We can't go full Conseco on these people. We got to keep it somewhat PG.
Because I wanted to read the Conseco tweet, and I was wondering how I was going to have to say it.
If you want, that can be part of our tweet of the day segment that I've started for the Charger Dog Pod.
Ooh,
which is absolutely
hey,
hilarious.
First Potter Show 2017, so I could share this.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Share it on
This is weird because
whatever
this is
you
like
want.
live right now, and people are like watching this. Oh crap! Hey,
That's awesome.
This is new.
New to you, but this is the same old thing for me.
Where the hell's the save icon? Save link or share link?
You have to go directly to the Friar Domination podcast page and hit the share button.
Got it. Okay. I just clicked on what Facebook told me a notification was. I swear I'm not computer illiterate.
Don't worry, you'll get a hold of it as we continue to do
Don't
shows.
listen to that.
Again, if you are on...
Just kidding. He's a computer whiz.
If you're on Periscope, hit us with retweets, with shares, and we will share your tweets.
Yes, absolutely. Feel free to interact with us, too. If you are hearing anything that you agree with or disagree with or are interested in, let us know so we can address it and talk about it. Feel free to, interact with us. Make this show your show, too.
Man. Okay. Let's see here. Are you guys all ready to go?
I'm ready.
Uno momento. Sharing real quick on my page.
Okay. Let me make sure I shared it on my personal. Nope. Okay.
Let me see. I think I shared it on my personal.
And share on your own timeline. Boom. God, anyone remember how many times I'd meant to share something on my own timeline, accidentally shared it on the damn...
Yeah, I've done that too. Just because I'm on so many different pages and so many different groups, it's kind of difficult to kind of keep track of everything.
Did you share this on the San Diego Diehards?
Yeah.
I did. He probably did. We are good to go whenever you're ready. Let me do something real quick. I am going to stop sharing my screen and go dark.
Hey, Jake, you got the rundown open?
No.
Okay. You might want to open that.
Get that thing open.
Is this a rundown the way we used to do it, where this is the order we want to talk about things, or is this just information?
Yes. No. Yeah, this is the way we want to talk about things. Give you guys a little inside peek of how we get ready for the show to make sure that we are, ready to get all the information we need to present to you guys.
So
pages, yeah. Jake's a notes guy.
I really am.
I'm a off the top of the head type of guy, so I don't like to do the notes.
So just a reminder for your Friar Domination podcast viewers, this year we are no longer recording and putting the podcast on SoundCloud, Google Play, or Google Music. You'll be able to find it on San Diego Sports Domination in the form of a video, which you are watching live right now. So if you don't watch the whole thing, you'll be able to find it there. Should make it a lot easier if you're on Periscope. If you're on Twitter, go to Periscope, Facebook Live. And hopefully that should make your live feeds a lot easier. So are you guys ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Jake?
Yeah.
All right.
We're going to hit the theme song.
Season 2.
Let's do it.
It's the Friar Domination podcast presented by SanDiegoSportsDomination.com. Here's Jake Harmon and David Rogemont.
All right, results are in. 2017 MLB Hall of Fame ballot was announced today. Jeff Bagwell, Tim Raines, and Ivan Rodriguez are in, but who's out? San Diego's own Trevor Hoffman. I'm Jake Harmon, back again for season 2 of, right for now at least, the Friar Domination podcast. We are looking for a new name if you want to give us any tips, but good to see you, man. It's been a while.
It has been a while, definitely, and a lot of things has happened in the San Diego area and in Padres land in general, and we're going to get to talk about all of those things here shortly. But obviously, we got to bring up the elephant in the room, and that's the absolute travesty that Trevor Hoffman was a mere 5 votes from being enshrined in Cooperstown.
5 votes, 74%. I mean, to us, especially being in San Diego, it's clear that he's a Hall of Famer. He had 327 votes, and you needed 332. So close. With the amount that he jumped from last year to this year, I think he was, around 63% last year, 74% this year. There's no way he misses on for 2018, but it's just a shame, you want to see, especially everything going on in San Diego this last week or so with the Chargers leaving. I felt like we needed this. San Diego needed this kind of big moment and put us in a good spotlight for a change, and it just fell just short.
Yeah, and, Trevor Hoffman, ever the classy individual, put a statement out saying that he takes being on the ballot very seriously, and he showed respect to the other guys who did get voted into the Hall of Fame, and, just put out just a very classy type of message and, something you'd come to expect from a true professional and gentleman in Trevor Hoffman.
That's the great thing about Trevor. Obviously he came up with Miami and then traded to San Diego and then spent virtually his entire career in San Diego, save for a couple years with Milwaukee or a little while there. And I never really heard anything about him being, a rough guy in the clubhouse or a negative impact on anyone. You always just heard positive things about Trevor Hoffman. He came out, he did his work, he helped people. He was a fantastic Padre, similar to what you think about for Tony Gwynn.
Absolutely. When you think about famous Padres or people who just, transformed their generation, the 2 guys that pop into your head is Tony Gwynn and Trevor Hoffman. At the peak of his career, when you heard those Hell's Bells ring out in the stadium, it was game over. It was a virtual lock. I even saw guys on Twitter that are fans of other teams that said when they heard Hell's Bells, they turned the TV off because they knew the game was about to be over. This guy was dominant.
Trevor Hoffman, he turned a pitch in the changeup to be just the most feared pitch by anyone. If you were a batter facing Trevor Hoffman, you knew 80-90% of the time you were going to get a changeup, and you still couldn't hit the damn thing. It was that good.
And the beauty about what Trevor did is he made really, really good hitters look really, really bad at the plate with that changeup. He just, it was devastating. That changeup it just looked like a parachute. And then when it got to home plate, it just absolutely deflated and dropped. And it just made hitters look stupid. And what made that changeup so effective was how pinpoint accurate Trevor was with his fastball command.
Yeah, and that's the thing with his fastball. It didn't overwhelm you, but when you got that changeup coming, what was it, mid-80s, somewhere like that, low to mid-80s, with all the breaks that you had, and then the fastball, even though it wasn't overwhelming, I want to say like 90, 91 tops, something like that, or maybe a little bit faster. It's just you think of why is the name forget? Greg Maddux, guys who just have outstanding pinpoint accuracy and can put the ball exactly where they want it, almost 100% of the time. That's the kind of stuff that's going to get you in the Hall of Fame. That's what got Maddux in. That's what's going to get Trevor Hoffman in next year.
Yeah, it definitely is going to get him in. I mean, it sucks that it didn't happen this year, but this guy, his resume speaks for itself. I mean, the NL Reliever of the Year award is named after Trevor Hoffman. So when Major League Baseball names an award after you, that means that you did something that reinvented and transformed the game. So it didn't happen this year. It's going to happen next year. And I am personally thinking about saving up to go see that enshrinement in Cooperstown next year, because I think that's going to be something special.
You know what? Hold me to it right here. First show, season 2, 2017. I'll join you on that. When Tony Gwynn was inducted, I think, God, I was freshman in high school, I want to say. And obviously, I mean, for me, being back then, there wasn't an option for me to go out to Cooperstown and be a part of that or anything. But I think now in adulthood, I think, that's something we got to do. That's something San Diego's got to do, And there's going to be a huge following out there for Trevor Hoffman from some San Diego people.
Absolutely. Now that we talked about Trevor and the biggest snub of the 2017 Hall of Fame inductees this year, we got to talk about the guys that did get enshrined in Cooperstown this year. We got Jeff Bagwell with 86.2% of the vote, Tim Raines at 86% on his last year of eligibility, and Ivan Pudge Rodriguez, who also gets enshrined on his very first ballot with 76%.
What's great too about with Jeff Bagwell being the highest vote getter at 86.2%, he jumped almost 15% from 2016 when he received 71.6% of the vote. That's a huge jump for 1 year. And, Bagwell, he's a guy, obviously he's deserving, hit 297 for his career, 408 on base percentage, 540 slugging.
449 home runs, 1,500 RBIs. I mean,
normally you think Hall of Fame and hitters, you think you want to get to that, that 500 home run mark or above. Obviously, he didn't quite get there, but he was just such a good all-around player. And I think you mentioned it took him 7 years to get in, but he got in. He's definitely deserving.
Yeah, and I mean the guy I'm really excited about is Tim Raines. And this is a guy that nobody really gave the respect that he deserved until this really high advanced sabermetrics came into play, where they could evaluate how important it was for him to get on base and how he impacted the game with his over 800 steals. And this is a guy that was one of the best players of his generation. And when you're one of the best players of your generation or your time frame, you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. So I'm glad that they finally got it right for him.
Yeah, to be exact, 808 career steals.
Wow.
Incredible. It's just insane. You think of players like that, those are the guys you want to have. Those are the guys you want to build around. Every single day you pencil them in the top of the lineup, they're going to produce for you. Going down, third most vote getter, just barely made it actually, and I was honestly a little bit surprised that he is a first ballot Hall of Famer. I figured maybe second, third, fourth year, but Ivan Rodriguez, 76%. He's an outstanding player, but I don't think a lot of people really grasp it until you really actually look at his career stats. 13 Gold Gloves, and then he won the MVP back in 1999.
Yeah, this guy, like I said earlier before we got on the show, when he was on the field, this was a guy that you really got excited to watch him throw somebody out. Pudge Rodriguez had a rocket arm, and he was not afraid to use it. And the one thing that you think about with him is those snap throws behind the batter to first base to try and get those guys out. And I feel like he did that more successfully than anybody else. This guy was a great hitter, a great leader, a true defensive talent, and a guy who was one of the best at his position while he was playing the game of baseball.
When I started playing Little League back when, I don't know, it's probably 10, I feel like I got a little bit of a late start in it. But after moving around to outfield and playing some different positions, when I got kind of settled, they put me behind catcher. A guy who I always watched was Ivan Rodriguez, and I wanted to be like him when I played. Obviously, it didn't really turn out like that because now I'm sitting here talking to you, just talking about sports instead of playing it. But he was a role model for so many people growing up, and I don't remember exactly what his tweet said, but I saw it earlier, and it was just so ecstatic of a tweet from a player who just he deserves it, really.
Excuse me. Sorry about that. My mic was off, guys. Those three guys are definitely deserving. They're great players. Jeff Bagwell, you might think was, maybe a little tainted because of the era in which he played, with all the steroid cheaters and all that. But, there's no evidence to support that he was on it. You got to think and assume that he wasn't. And the numbers that he put up over the longevity of his career, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, as well as Pudge and Tim Raines. So I think they got it right, but not completely right. More on that, the Padres, they released a statement on Trevor Hoffman, and Jake's going to read that to you right now.
Yeah, a statement from the San Diego Padres came out today. We would like to congratulate the Hall of Fame class of 2017 on being elected to the greatest honor in our game. We believe Trevor Hoffman's name should have been called today, and we share in the disappointment felt by Padres fans everywhere. Few players have ever performed the task sat in front of them as successfully and as consistently as Trevor did. On top of that, Trevor has the unanimous respect and love of former teammates, coaches, and fans. He is a true Hall of Famer, and we look forward to the day very soon when we will see him enshrined in Cooperstown.
Yeah, and throughout Trevor Hoffman's career, he had milestone after milestone after milestone. And you actually put together a nice little video montage of those events. Maybe you can go ahead and play that for everybody right now.
I did, yeah. I spent some time tonight, and I just put together a quick little kind of, not video, obviously, but a little sound sample of some of his big late career achievements. My only disappointment when I was going through a bunch of different videos and trying to see what would be appropriate for this kind of tribute was that 600 and 601 weren't in San Diego.
Yeah, they were not. They were in a Brewers uniform. He got those towards the end of his career. It sucks that we couldn't have him finish his career in San Diego. But, when you think of Trevor Hoffman, you think of him as a San Diego Padre, and that's it.
Yeah, he's without a doubt, he might not even acknowledge the fact that he played for anyone else. in any sort of speech. I mean, he's the kind of guy he would probably bring it up, but he's gonna just love on and talk about San Diego. And he played for us too during a time when he kind of had all aspects of the franchise. He had he went through some kind of growing pains with it, all the way up to getting into the World Series in '98, kind of diving back down again into the new stadium, some playoff atmosphere stuff, and then kind of go back down. Then of course headed off to Milwaukee. But just one final look at his final stats. It's amazing. 601 career saves, 2.87 ERA, 7 All-Star games. And the thing that jumps out at me from that Padres statement, and this is the big thing, and this is what I wish Hall of Fame voters will really take into account. It says right in the middle of that, where'd it go? Few players have ever performed the task set in front of them as successfully and as consistently as Trevor did. So when you look at players like closers, for instance, or any reliever, reliever DH, you think of David Ortiz. It's not necessary. It shouldn't be held against these guys that they came in and played for 1 inning a game, or they came in and they only hit, they didn't field. If you do exactly what is asked from you day in and day out, and you do it better than anybody else, that should be all that matters.
Yeah, like I said earlier, the Major League Baseball named an award after you. If they named an award after you, you had to have done something to change the game or, make a mark on the game that will last forever. And Trevor Hoffman has easily done that. He is the best closer or / relief pitcher probably in National League history. And, his saves, they support that. And if you're not a Saves fan, okay, I get that. But at the end of the day, when you want to close out a game and make sure you are going to win, you're going to put in the best pitcher on your team to make sure that happens. And Trevor Hoffman was that for his entire career.
Yeah, anyone who doesn't think saves are an important stat, or it's a crappy role, or it's not as important as it really is, just go back and rewatch this last season's World Series. All right?
Yeah.
Go and check that out with those late innings, especially that Game 7. Just to me, anyone who says the saves aren't good, just get out of here. Anyway, let's transition a little bit real quick before we get into some more Hall of Fame talk later. We'll talk some Padres. This is our San Diego SportsDominations.com Padres show. This is the show that we kind of started last year in podcast format. It was pretty successful. Had a good amount of views and downloads, and now after success of the Chargers Domination podcast and now the Aztec Domination podcast starting to do this live thing, we decided to give it a go here and see how it can impact our viewership, and I'm excited to see how it goes.
Yeah, me too. Me and Daniel Wade, we enjoyed some incredible success for the first year of the Chargers Domination podcast, averaging anywhere from 300 to 500 viewers per show. And that's something that really excited us, and me especially, being involved in the Friar Domination podcast in the first year, and all the great talented people that we got to interview and communicate with, and all the stuff that we got to talk about in year one. And we can take all of that, those dynamics that we created in year one, and make it even better in this new format live this year in 2017.
Yeah, so keep a lookout on that. I know after today, we're going to go on another mini hiatus. We'll be back for spring training, and then we'll be back spring training through the whole 2017 season. Now,
Absolutely.
Some big news. This is the news. I was super stoked about this. I know you were excited. Me, for years, I held off on buying players' jerseys. All right, especially for San Diego teams, it felt like either with the Chargers, we had great players, but this team was never good, or I just never had the money to spend $160, $170 on a jersey. But then, especially with the Padres, every time we got someone who seemed like they were going to be great or seemed like they'd be the face of the franchise, all of a sudden they're gone. Last year, I said, you know what? I want to get a jersey. I got some extra money. I went out and bought me a Will Myers jersey. And the Padres, I was scared. I was hearing some trade rumors at the end of the season, like it's possible he could move on. 6 years, $83 million extension. Thank you, AJ Preller and company.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And man, was that announcement? Could that have came at a better time? When the people of San Diego are reeling from a really bad breakup with the Chargers. You get the extensions of Will Myers, who's going to be the new face of the Padres for the next 6, 7, 8, hopefully the rest of his career. And we also extend a guy who just brings the energy and the heart and soul to this San Diego Padres team, a guy that's so exciting to watch in Yangervis Solarte.
Yeah, he's another one. I mean, 2 years, $7.5 million for him. He does have 2 club options that really significantly raise that salary. He's got, 2019 and 2020 are the options. He got $5.5 million option in 2019 and $8 million in 2020. That's a good chunk of change for someone who, frankly, I don't think enough people around the league think he can be a really great player for a long time.
Well, check this out, man. I only have to submit you to this. Take a look at Chase Headley. Take a look at his stats, who is a third baseman, who is a switch hitter, who plays the same position that Yangervis Solarte plays, and take Yangervis Solarte's stats, who makes a lot less money than him. Mind you, Chase Headley signed a $50 or $100 million contract with the Yankees. Yeah. Solarte just signed a $7.5 million contract with 2 club options with the Padres and is performing better, considerably better, than Chase Headley is. Now, if you don't tell me that that is a bargain, then you are out of your mind. This guy is great. Wow.
What makes it a better bargain, even, and I don't know if I heard you say this. I was listening very closely to see if you would. I don't think you did. We traded for him with Headley.
Oh, yes, we did. Oh, man. That overpriced.
We talked about how a spark plug he can be. He's got speed, he's a fielder, he's energetic. His numbers last year in just 109 games, hit 286, 15 home runs, 71 RBIs. I mean, that's great. And he's not the kind of guy who I thought could do that for a whole year, let alone just over a half a year.
And remember, guys, I mean, he did all of this while dealing with his sick and unfortunately late wife, who passed away of leukemia. He did all of that and put up all of those kinds of numbers while dealing with something so personal and so damaging that most of us wouldn't be able to function through. And he played with the same passion and vigor that he would any other day of the week. And you got to love the way this guy plays the game, and your heart goes out for him for losing his wife. I mean, he left. They left 3 daughters, so I mean that's never fun, and you really feel for him, and you rest in peace to Juliet, and it's just it's a tough time. I mean, and because of that, he won the Consigliere Award and that's an award that's given to players that have gone through a tough time in their life and persevered through. And I think nobody embodied that spirit better than Yangervis Solarte this year.
And a big thing you'll remember from Yangervis Solarte last year is, I believe his first game back. I don't know if it was his first at bat. It might have been his first at bat or second at bat. But he got a single, I believe it was, and just the crowd erupted, the dugout erupted. Everyone was so happy for him. The smile on his face was just—it's what we've grown to know. So, it only happened for a couple years. What we've grown to know and expect from Yangervis Solarte is that just really positive attitude, and that's what you need. I mean, I'd rather have a million Yangervis Solartes than one Barry Bonds. Talking about steroids right now. I'm just talking about attitude and anything else. All right. I do want to get back real quick to this Myers extension because it's for $83 million. But what I find really fascinating about this offer is for the next 3 years, he's really not making very much. They are counting on him to really come into his prime in 2020 and beyond. Over the next 3 years, 17, 18, and 19, he's only making about 20, 21 million, somewhere in that range. He's got 4.5 this year and next year, and then 5.5 in 2019 before that jumps up to a staggering 22.5 million from 2020 to 2022. That's a huge jump. They're really counting on him to really start performing in 2020.
Well, and I think another thing you got to keep in mind is a lot of that young pitching talent that the Padres signed in the offseason and traded for here in the past couple of years, they're going to come to maturity around that 2020 date. And that's when the Padres are expected to really, really compete for, the National League West and potentially a pennant. I mean, that's when this team is going to be extremely stacked with young, impactful talent on the both offense, defensive, and pitching sides. And I think that's when the Padres are expecting to really make a run for this thing.
Yeah, speaking of offense and defense, if you're looking for some reason to get excited about this San Diego Padres in 2017, look no further than that offense and defense. I mean, we got guys who came up at the end of the last year in Margot, Renfroe, Hedges, who I'm really hoping can learn how to hit at the major league level. For Christ's sake, performed so well in AAA last year, and still, I think he was up for 10 games or whatever, but we need him to figure it out. But this is a young team with, you got Myers and guys like that, everyone coming up. This could be a really exciting team offensively. And it's a team that already, at their level that they play now, is great defensively and is only going to get better. And if they could just get that pitching to come through, if we can get Bosley to work some of that magic, maybe on that bullpen, and try and figure out some of this rotation work. I'm not saying they're going to be competitive, because I really don't believe they're going to be competitive in 2017, but I think they're going to at least be watchable from beginning of April until the end or first couple of days of October, and that hasn't happened in several years.
Well, I mean, you're going to get a young and exciting team. I mean, these guys are really, really talented from top to bottom, offensive and defensively. Will Myers is one of the better young first basemen in the league, and he's only been doing it for a year, but he's super smooth. You got Corey Spangenberg that's coming back from injury this year, who is a defensive wizard. He's got great range, has great speed, shortstop's probably your weakest position, but Sardinius is going to get every opportunity to steal that. Solarte's solid over there at third base, has decent range, good arm, makes the plays that he needs to make. Hedges is probably one of the better young catchers as far as defensively speaking in the game of baseball, period. Just the way he frames, the way he receives the ball, his arm behind the plate. He does everything behind the plate flawlessly. Nobody's doubting his defensive prowess. He's one of the better ones in the league already, just showing up. Hunter Renfroe in the outfield's got a cannon, an absolute rocket launcher for an arm, and he's gonna be up there in assists, I think, with the big boys for the majority of his career, if he keeps that cannon intact. Because I mean, this guy is, his arm is electric. Margot and Jankowski, those guys can cover everything. I mean, they're super fast, got great gloves, great instincts, and run great routes to go hunt balls down. I mean, either of those guys can play center or left field. And then, of course, throw Alex Dickerson in there. And the Poway native brings the power and that lefty kind of balance to that lineup.
Yeah, and getting back to Hedges, when you talked about him with his defense, if the rest of the guys who we're expecting to come in offensively and really kind of come into their own over the next few years can do what we know they can do, if Hedges doesn't hit the amount of home runs he hit in the minors, if he doesn't hit for a 300 batting average, I'm going to be okay with that, because he's going to provide stellar defense. He's going to save a lot of runs, and he's going to really work that pitching staff behind there. And that, I mean, that's the number one job of a catcher. You can get some offense out of him, like, Ivan Rodriguez got, that's great. But at the end of the day, you want a guy who your pitchers absolutely trust without a doubt, and who can save some runs when needed.
Yeah, and Hedges can definitely do that for you. Like I said, as soon as he takes his equipment and sits it down in a major league lineup or a major league clubhouse, he's one of the best defensive catchers in the game. I mean, he's that smooth. And, he can make an impact with just his defense, and you're going to see him do that routinely next season. But anyway, we're going to move on to some more off-season ads. And the Padres pitching, their starting rotation, it will maybe look more like a merry-go-round at this point in time, because they're just throwing a whole bunch of people into the fire and see who comes out. They signed a bunch of guys this offseason Jules Chastain, who was a former Rocky, 1 year, 1.75 prove it deal. Clayton Richard, same thing, one year, 1.75 prove it. And then a couple other young guys, Tyrell Jenkins and Zach Lee. Any of those guys interest you at all?
Honestly, no. I mean, there's very few guys we have either returning on this pitching staff or coming in that really, kind of excite me. Besides your little pet project last year,
Luis Perdomo.
Thank you, Perdomo. I mean, we talked about this a lot last year. It took me a long time to get onto his bandwagon, but I did. He was great. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what he does. But as far as the new guys, I mean, Clayton Richard, we've seen. It's whatever.
I think of any of those guys, Clayton Richard, he pitched really well down the stretch. The last 10 or so games, he had an ERA under 3. So, I mean, he was productive, and we'll see if he can carry that into next year. I mean, that is something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and even beyond that, I mean, Zach Lee, obviously a big project. He got torched in his one minor appearance with the Dodgers, actually, 6.14 ERA related to the Dodgers and Mariners and minors, and it's just rough. Then you go back to Jenkins, his 2010 supplemental first-round draft pick by the Cardinals, 5.88 ERA in 52 innings between the Braves rotation and the bullpen. So it's just really nothing to be excited about. And then even looking still at Jenkins, already this year, it's been traded from the Braves to the Rangers and selected off waivers by the Reds and then by the Padres.
So, I mean, if anything, I mean, you see that a lot of teams are interested in his talent. I mean, this kid obviously has something that teams are looking for. So we'll see if the pitching wizard Darren Balsley can do anything with him and get the best out of the kid.
Yeah, and looking around, let's talk a little bit about some off-season subtractions right now. Out of this list, I'm going to read off for you real quick. Is there anyone that really kind of bums you out or feel you wish AJ Preller would have went after harder to bring them back? You got Alexi Amaris, who's gone now to Colorado, recently signed, I think, a couple days ago. Osrado Arcia, or Arcia, however you want to say.
Yeah,
Edwin Jackson.
Don't care.
John Jay.
A little bit, yeah.
You miss him a little bit. Derek Norris, who frankly I liked the trade originally, but I'm ecstatic he's gone. I really just want to see Hedges. Adam Rosales, I was kind of bummed about that one.
Rosales was a decent utility guy last year. I mean, hit 13 home runs, played serviceable in multiple different positions. So he's a guy I wouldn't mind seeing come back.
Well, it would have been nice. I mean, just from the home run standpoint, I believe I saw somewhere recently, I want to say last year, those Padres set a record for most home runs in a Padres season. And
75.
We got to hope that McGuire wasn't, slipping them a little something under the table there. But and if by any chance he sees this, I mean, no disrespect, Mark, please don't come and lift me up like Andy Green at the
We're definitely joking, Mark. We love you as the coach.
Come on our show.
Yeah, come on our show, talk Padres baseball with us. We promise you we will not insult you again. But anyway, moving on. One guy on this list that I am a little sour about is Tyson Ross. I've seen Tyson Ross do so many great things in a Padres uniform. And when he is on top of his game, he is one of the most dominant pitchers in Major League Baseball. The slider, when it's on, it's nasty to the point to where it is unhittable. So, now, of course, the biggest thing is him being healthy. And, he threw, not even one game last year, and he was out the rest of the season. Yeah, he was out the rest of the season. So, it's a gamble, but I would have liked giving the guy with that kind of talent another opportunity.
Yeah, and the thing that kind of bugs, you got to wonder about the Tyson Ross situation is because I feel like all year – we didn't quite get the whole story on his injury. Early on, we had guys come on the show saying, he'll be back in the middle of May. Then all of a sudden, it was the All-Star game. Then he slipped and hurt his foot or something like that. Then early September. Then all of a sudden, next thing you know, season's over. We never see him again. Is there possibly just something that, the Padres knew different about the injury that they weren't necessarily releasing, that they said, we're not going to go after him very hard and let him go wherever he lands?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a possibility. I mean, he was under their care for the majority of the season, so you got to understand or at least have a feeling that they have a pretty good handle on what his injury was and what it's going to take to treat it. But, I mean, I just feel like this is a guy that, when healthy, can help you win more games with the talent that he has. But, you know, it is what it is. The Padres are shedding payroll and going younger, and you know, at least they have an identity now. I mean, we were begging for years for them to just make a decision on something, and they finally have. And I feel like it's going to turn out for the better eventually. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Now, an interesting thing to note here, this is developing, nothing's final, of course, but there are reports coming out that the Padres are now close to signing Trevor Cahill for a reported 1-year, $1.75 million deal. I know it's for the Cubs. I believe I want to say he was a lefty. He's a righty, but he's not a bad guy. He could be someone who can kind of add a little bit of experience into a rotation that might severely lack experience.
Well, yeah, and then this is the guy that was in the bullpen last year, and he pitched pretty darn well. I mean, ERA under 3. I mean, he can start or he can be in the bullpen for you either way. So this is a guy that brings some experience and some flexibility, and a guy that can do it either way. So, I mean, with this Padres starting rotation, there's a lot of open spots. So maybe he can take one of those spots, or maybe he can go to the bullpen. But yeah, I mean, a guy to keep an eye on for sure.
Would you say feasibly, when we're looking at our rotation for 2017, when we're talking about open spots, would you say there's honestly 5 open spots in that rotation?
I wouldn't say there's 5 open spots, but 4 open spots for sure. I feel like Luis Perdomo has secured his spot in the rotation. He was the only consistent pitcher last year that actually got better as he kept going. So, I mean, I feel like he's ready to be a major leaguer, and he deserves one of those starting rotation spots. I mean, at this point in time, I feel like he's the ace. So two through. I mean, yeah, I know it's funny to say, but it is. It's honest.
As much as I got on his bandwagon last year and kind of started believing, it does worry me about this Padres pitching staff now, just to even consider that he could potentially be the ace.
Yeah, it is a little concerning. I mean, the guy is super young, and there's still a couple of things that need to be corrected in his game. But when he gets his command down, I mean, this guy is going to be really, really good. I mean, just a really, really loose, natural arm with big arm strength, natural sink. I mean, like really good, 95, 96, consistent speed, velocity on the fastball, and a lot of movement. I mean, when this guy is in his best rare form, he's really hard to hit against.
And one final thing about this upcoming Padres team before we talk just a tiny bit more Hall of Fame and then close this thing out. There are some more rumors of some people the Padres could be going after, one of which really excites me. The other two, I'm like, okay, yeah, experience. You got Doug Fister and Jared Weaver as the two. I'm like, all right, it's their placeholders, whatever. We'll see what that what's on. But I would absolutely love to see them bring Jake Peavy back for one more year.
I would too. I think would be a great storybook ending to Jake's career is to finish it where it started in San Diego. The guy spent the best years of his career here, got traded away a couple of times, but I feel like he made his money and made his name in San Diego, and I think it would only be fitting to end that story right where it started.
Yeah, he's not going to go down obviously as one of the greatest pitchers of all time, or even get close to making the Hall of Fame, honestly. But I feel like he's got to go down as one of the top Padres, at least top 10, maybe even more. I mean, he's fantastic for years leading that Padres rotation.
Yeah, and NL Cy Young Award winner.
Yep. And moving around, let's flash back a little bit to Hall of Fame, but kind of move forward. 2018, obviously Trevor Hoffman just missed making the Hall of Fame this year, as we discussed earlier. 74% of the vote. You need 75% to get in. But 2018, there's some good potential players coming onto the ballot for the first time, including 3 that I think have a chance to be first ballot Hall of Famers. And you know, Trevor at 74%, he's not going to miss it next year. But looking at the folks who are coming on, the guys coming on there, you got to think 2018 could very well feature 5 new inductees in Omar Vizquel, Chipper Jones, Jim Thome, Vladimir Guerrero, and Trevor Hoffman.
Yeah, I mean, at least 4 for sure. I mean, the only maybe in that group is Jim Thome, which it shouldn't be because he's hit over 600 home runs. But you never know with these sports writers, what they're going to think. But you got to figure that Trevor Hoffman's an absolute shoe in. Vlad Guerrero is probably a guarantee as well. And then you probably look at first time guys like Chipper Jones, who is a guy that's probably going to be an automatic first ballot Hall of Famer. So, I mean, definitely at least 4 of those guys that you named are going to be enshrined in Cooperstown next year.
Now, I got one more little small list here. Some guys who are on the ballot next year who kind of want to keep an eye on just to see where they go percentage-wise and how it kind of increases. One guy I want to talk about is Manny Ramirez. 23.8% of the vote is what he got this year. So, I mean, not high. He's actually kind of dangerously low. I think, what is it? You need at least 15% to stay on or something like that. So, I mean, he's not terribly low, but he's pretty close. But you look at his career numbers, 555 home runs, hit 312 for a career average. Sure, he had his quirks, his weirdness about him, if you will, and kind of every now and then would screw around. But he's one to definitely keep an eye on. Then you also got
I mean, before you go into Messina, one thing about Manny Ramirez is the steroid problems. I mean, he got busted for PEDs a couple of times. Now, my question to you is this: do you think that sports writers are going to maybe look at him a little bit differently because he was suspended for those offenses, or not?
Now, the way I look at this is you got a guy like Manny Ramirez who tested positive and was suspended by MLB more than once. I believe it was twice. Mm-hmm. So it's proven that he was caught. We know he did steroids. His numbers are great. I've always stood by the fact that in baseball, I mean, it's the hardest thing to do to hit a baseball. And so there's still so much that goes into, fielding and hitting that steroids really can't help you with. But obviously, the home runs, the power, that's going to help their strength and everything, but it's still incredibly hard to hit a home run. And I feel like for the sports writers, they got to look at him differently. He tested positive. It's proven. It's not like some of the other guys who were just named in reports or even if they were named, they never tested positive. They were never actually really officially caught.
Like Clemens and Bonds.
And I think that's where a lot of the sports writers, I'm starting to see more and more come out and say, you know what, enough is enough. I've kept these guys off my ballots for this long because I suspected they did this, but when it comes down to it, I have no proof. I'm going to go by the numbers. And there's more and more people doing that. And you're seeing that with Barry Bonds getting more and more votes every single year, getting close. He's set at 53.8% this year. I mean, I think he's got a couple more years left, but I don't know for sure that he'll make it. But I mean, it's things like that. You got the Manny Ramirez situation is much different than like a Barry Bonds or a Roger Clemens situation where they were named in reports.
Yeah, and they were never named, and Barry Bonds was never actually proven. But come on now, when you look at him earlier in his career, and you look at what the size of his body was, and his hat size, those things changed as he got into the later parts of his career, and I just can't, really think that he didn't take them. I can't come to any other conclusion that he took steroids towards the back end of his career. He was noticeably bigger in size, and I think that's just too big of a giveaway for me.
Do you think we ever get a press conference similar to what Mark McGwire gave a number of years ago about admitting and apologizing?
No chance. No chance at all, because I mean, unless they come up with a smoking gun, with something with some undisputable evidence to, proverbially back him into a corner, then no, I don't see it happening. I mean, why would he sit here and admit guilt, especially when he's trying to get enshrined in Cooperstown? I mean, he's not going to try to say anything to muck that up, because there are the old-fashioned sport writers that say if you have taken steroids, then your name is automatically going to get withdrawn from a ballot. So I don't think he's going to take that risk.
Yeah, it's tough because, I mean, obviously baseball's had so many different eras. And obviously a lot of these guys that we're seeing come into the Hall of Fame ballots now, they're part of this most recent era, which was dubbed the steroid era. It's one of those things where it's like, even if they weren't caught or wasn't necessarily known that they were doing stuff, a lot of those guys were on something.
Yeah.
Before we get on, I do like to want to bring this up real quick. We're brought up by our CEO, David Fricker, producer now. Thank you for taking over that role, by the way, for me, Fricker.
No problem.
It's really nice, honestly, just to kind of do a little research and sit here and just actually do the show instead of having to worry about so many other things. So, Fricker, I know you're there. You're getting us live right now to all these people on Facebook through our different accounts. So thank you for that. But tweet of the week. I saw this while walking my dog earlier. I was scrolling through Twitter. I see a great one from Jose Canseco. How the F is Jeff Bagwell being inducted into the Hall of Fame and Mark McGwire's not? That is disgusting.
Oh man, what kind of drugs is this guy taking now? I mean, this psycho, man. He just, man, I don't even know what to say about this guy. I mean, what can you say? I mean, the things that come out of this guy's mouth, I mean, it's just so ridiculous. I mean, Mark McGwire clearly took steroids, admitted to it a couple of times already. So, I mean, come on, man. Jeff Bagwell was never, proven to have taken steroids, so you can't put him in that same conversation. And Jose Canseco is probably just doing this for attention.
Now, we do have one fan question that I've noticed on Facebook on the official Friar Domination podcast, the mainstream of this. It's by Scott Niels. Basically, a lot of his question was answered while we talked about this offseason, the Padres. But the one thing I want to address on here, because you did ask, you want to know what kind of key transactions are going on to give us a boost into making the playoffs. I hate to burst your bubble, Scott, but the Padres are not making any sort of moves to try and get into the playoffs in 2017. It's not going to happen. You're not going to see them make some sort of killer deal at the trade deadline that will suddenly make us go from maybe being just slight 500 to over the top and taking over a team like the Dodgers, the Giants. It's not going to happen as much as we'd like to.
Yeah, no, I think Jake hit the nail on the head there. It's not going to happen, unfortunately. This team is rebuilding right now. They're going to try to do everything from within. So they're basically going to try to nurture those young players that are already in their system and bring them along and just bring them through the ranks. And when they're ready to come up and make impacts at the big league level, then they will. But that's going to be a couple of years away. So just buckle up and enjoy the ride for the next couple of years. I mean, this team is going to have something to offer, though, because this youth is going to be exciting. I mean, there's some guys on this team that are going to put butts in seats after people get a chance to watch what they can do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and Scott, I want to give you some advice, and I want to give the same advice to many of the listeners out there, many people viewing, is we got to be patient right now over the next couple of years with this Padres team. But what I urge you and everybody to do, especially now that Mr. What did you call him earlier? Spanis?
Spanis. That's
Spanis.
Correct.
Mr. Dean Spanis has taken our Chargers away and moved them up to L.A. We got one professional team in San Diego left as far as the big professional sports, and that's the Padres. Yeah. If you really want to help this team kind of progress and get to where in 2018, 2019, 20 and beyond, they're competitive and they're a team that's in the World Series discussion every year, buy tickets. Go to the games. It starts, I said it a lot last year, it's really hard to invest in teams that suck or that aren't playing well. But as of right, especially after the Myers deal, the Padres are showing us now that they are really focused on the future. They have a real good plan set into motion to make this team competitive. So now it's up to us, the fans, to get our butts in the stadium, spend some money on some hot dogs, get some tickets, get some money into the owner's pocket so that way he can turn around and give it to AJ Preller, because this isn't the first time that he's proven that he's given AJ Preller some money. I mean, remember all the money that came in a couple years ago when we signed or traded for guys like Kemp? I mean, as crappy as that was, we know that this group is willing to spend some money. So let's help them. Let's make sure that they have the money that they can spend and really make our team as competitive as possible.
And if you haven't been out to Petco Park, do yourself a favor, folks. Go out to Petco Park and just enjoy the beauty and the architecture and just how that stadium was constructed. Because, folks, it is unanimously considered one of the most beautiful parks in all of Major League Baseball. It is a true jewel. It is a jewel of Major League Baseball. We had the All-Star game last year, and many sports writers said, why don't we just have it in San Diego every year?
Every year.
So, I mean, do yourself a favor and go out to Petco Park and go support this young team. They're going to be fun to watch, and just enjoy the beauty that Petco Park has to offer.
Well, guys, that's going to do it for us today on the Hall of Fame edition of the, for now, still called Friar Domination podcast. Go ahead and check us out on all our social media accounts on Facebook, on Twitter. Facebook, we got the San Diego Sports Domination page. Twitter, you can follow me at JakeHarmonSD. The San Diego Sports Domination Twitter at San Diego_sports. Of course, our Friar Domination page at Friar Dompod. Drogemeyer's got some pages of his own.
Yes, absolutely. Check me out on Twitter at DHSD619. Let's talk Padres baseball. Anything else you want to bring up? I'm pretty knowledgeable about that kind of stuff. On the Facebook side, you can find our Facebook page at Friar Domination Podcast for now. Again, we are considering changing the name, so if you guys have any ideas for us, please send them our way, and we'll consider them, because we want this show to be your show as well. Feel free to interact with us, and just come along for the ride with us. So yeah, check us out on all those platforms. We are going to be going live for every show going forward. Hope you guys like the new platform. We definitely do. So enjoy the show with us.
All right, guys. We will see you probably not until March, but we'll see if anything crazy happens. But until March, go Padres.
Go Padres.